Hello, hello. Welcome to the Five Talents Podcast. I'm your host, Abel Pacheco. I interview the top commercial real estate investors and industry experts so you can learn from their experiences. So if you're an investor, a high W-2 earner, or real estate or tech sales professional that wants to invest in real estate without having to manage properties or leave your day job, then this podcast is for you. Or if you're already investing in real estate, but you're doing it part-time and you want to become a full-time multifamily or full-time commercial real estate investor, this podcast is for you too. You're going to learn a ton. You will learn from real-life multifamily investors and other professionals in the industry. They're going to share their blueprints for success, and I'm super excited that you're here. So I hope you enjoy the show. Hello, hello. Abel Pacheco here, your host for the Five Talents Podcast. We are super excited to have Mr. Reid Bennett today. Reid, hey man, thank you very much for joining the show, first of all.
Abel, really appreciate the opportunity to jump on.
Man, thank you. It's been a pleasure. I've followed you on LinkedIn. We've had a few, a couple of challenges that we did together, and just have learned a lot in some of your posts. And I was like, man, I definitely have to connect with Reid. I know he's got an amazing role himself in expertise in what you do. Happy to share it. So thanks for joining the show, man.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
Well, good. For those that don't know Reid, let me at least put a little bit of background to him so you have an idea of who he is and why we should be listening. But Reid is, you serve as the National Council Chair of Multifamily Properties for SVN International. So Reid's a licensed managing broker. He focuses primarily on the sale of apartment communities across the Midwest. And also he teams up with members of his council to serve clients around the country in about 150 markets. So to say that Reid understands multifamily is a bit of an understatement. He helps clients with this every single day. And Reid, if I understand right, like you yourself host the Multifamily Minute. Is that correct?
Yeah, the Multifamily Minute was just something I created when I started doing video posts, which it's only been, I was actually just looking it up before the call.
Yeah.
I think the first one I did was when I was driving to go get my car washed on a Saturday morning, and that was about 10 months ago. So I've learned a lot through watching, your posts and other people's posts and the challenges to kind of understand what people want to see or hear or how long things need to be. But yeah, it's been, the Multifamily Minute was born, I want to say in December, and then it's just kind of grown a little bit since then.
Here they come, a minute at a time, and everyone I'm like, oh, that's very valuable. Thank you very much for that.
Trying to keep it in a minute. It's tough to get everything you need to say in a minute done, but
yeah,
I do my best.
You got it, man. Well, I'm sure every once in a while you need to take two, and we'll be happy to listen to it. But man, so Reid, garden style apartments pretty well. Affordable housing pretty well. Also, Section 8, Section 42 communities. So for some of those light tech investments, I think that's kind of your area. But man, let's just jump in. Tell us what you do exactly in your words, and how you help others, and kind of who you serve, so that way we get an idea there.
Perfect. Well, so I track every single existing deal in our markets here, and when I'm based in Chicago, and I track every existing multifamily deal, both on the affordable side and market rate side, typically 50 units and above. I have a team here in Chicago that takes up different neighborhoods in the city, where we might go down to 12 units in the city, but a majority of my business is garden style apartment complexes throughout the Midwest, Illinois, Indiana, Wisconsin, Iowa. We focus a lot on those. We do a number of other areas, or work a number of other areas. And when I say through the council, we have about 266 multifamily focused advisors at SVN. In what I said, 150 different markets around the country, and about 225 offices.
Yeah. So a lot of manpower. When you say I'm tracking your company, your firm, your team, you guys are tracking, really in every one of these markets from, when did they sell? Or maybe you tell us, what does that mean Like you're
Yeah,
tracking all of these deals.
right. So we have about 4 different systems that we use, and we compile all the data from those 4 systems into a centralized database.
Mm-hmm.
And tracking just means we have every single deal in existence. We have when it was purchased, who owns it, what the acreage is, how many buildings, who's paying the utilities, what the loan maturities are on each of those properties. You know, everything that's associated with that property, we can figure it out. So we also use a number of different programs that track expenses in each one of those markets.
Yeah, that's pretty cool too.
We can do a pretty good analysis, even if an owner's saying, I'm not going to give you any numbers, but my property.
Which never happens at,
never.
50 units maybe in that area, huh?
Yeah. So we could probably have a pretty good analysis of a property. I have pictures of every deal. And if we need more, then we coordinate with a lot of the boots on the ground in those markets. And, oftentimes within SVN, especially if it's a secondary or tertiary market, the advisor in that market might be kind of a jack of all trades and has to do office, industrial, retail, and multifamily. And, they might, go to church with, or their kids go to school with the guy that owns the 250 unit apartment complex in their town. So they'll call me and my team in, and we'll help them just underwrite the deal if they're not comfortable with that size of a property. And we run it simultaneously with them and collaborate with all the brokers across the country.
There you go. That's pretty awesome. So it's quite a bit of services. Much better than finding a project on my own, I would say.
Well, you can do that, but a lot of times if you're trying to find it on your own, you might be dealing with sellers that are more tire kickers themselves as sellers, saying, hey, if I can get this pie in the sky price, I'm a seller. And you might waste a lot of your time chasing some of those deals. I mean, we've done it as brokers trying to help people buy off-market deals. We've done it, but it can also take a lot of time if the seller's not really committed to selling.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. So there's a lot of value in going through, broker, a system, a team, organization, tracking all the data from sell to expenses and that type of thing. And as an investor, I'm looking for as much data that I possibly can have to put me in the best possible position that I don't overpay, initially in my offer. And then I can operate the property well enough to, make my return. So man, I'm tracking everything that you're saying. That makes perfect sense. I hope our listeners as well.
Yeah, and any one of your deals in Texas, depending on what market it is, I could give you some examples of how, my colleagues are tracking them or how we're tracking them internally.
Yeah.
Be happy to send over any data on any of the deals you have.
That's pretty awesome. So thanks. So tell us why, well, before we get into why, how long have you been in multifamily and how long, with SVN and, maybe overall commercial real estate, how many years is it? And, what have you gone through so far?
Sure. Well, I got my license in 2001 and really hit the ground running with it was a small boutique multifamily firm. That's all they sold, were multifamily, downtown Chicago. And for the first, I want to say 5 years of my career, I didn't know how to underwrite income producing property because all I was selling was apartment deals to condo converters.
Mm-hmm.
I had a little
they don't care about your underwriting anyways. They're going to reposition, change it around, right?
They didn't care anything about that. All they wanted to know was how big, what's the square footage, what's the layout of the units, can I convert one of the dining rooms into a bedroom in Chicago? That was the biggest thing. So I would just go, I would go into the apartment units. I would just, in Chicago, it's pretty easy. So all the old 1920s vintage buildings, they're all stacked. So this is, you can look outside a building, you'd say, these are all the 2 bedrooms on this corner. These are the ones in the middle. So all I would have to do is go in, measure out. We had a laser measure. I'd measure out the units of the sizes of the rooms. I'd go back. tell the various condo converters. And by the way, at one point I had 176 condo converters in my database on the northwest side of Chicago alone.
Yeah.
So it was everybody and their brother during the condo craze saying, "Hey, look, if I can pick this deal up for 100,000 a unit, and if they're selling for 180,000, that's an $80,000 profit." Little did they know that they had to put a little bit of money into it,
Yeah.
in order to get to that rate. But so about 2000, the end of 2006, beginning of 2007, that kind of condo craze started to diminish a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember one of our clients, he had a 60-unit apartment building on the north side, and he's old school guy. I've sold him a number of deals since. A great guy. He came up to me and he'd always pat his front pocket of his pants and say, "This building's giving me 76,000 cash." And he said that to me, and I said, "Okay, that's good, but do you realize that your building's probably worth 7 million and change, so you're making 1%?" And then he said, "Whoa, I never thought of it that, I only thought about what I was putting in my pocket," because he owned it for 30 years.
Yeah.
Or 20 years.
Yeah.
So we got him out of that property and into 2 garden style apartment complexes outside of the city of Chicago, basically for zero money out of his pocket, but quadrupled his income. And he's since refinanced those complexes. And I talked to him a few times a year, and they're the best things in his portfolio. He loves them. I couldn't believe that he was only making 76,000 cash.
Yeah. Now he's I think if I heard 4 times right, $250,000, whatever. And then cash out refinance for those investors that are thinking about it. It's like, well, how does it math? Basically cash out, you're not paying any taxes, putting it all, in spendable cash, whatever you want to do with it, and still earning your return, which is awesome. So you advise them through that. So that, maybe this is a kind of this, I want to hear more about your progression from then till now, but maybe as you're thinking about this, what pitfalls do you help your clients avoid? What are some of the biggest, mistakes that people have made, and some of the best wins,
Well, some mistakes that we always try to help people avoid are, just getting in deals where they're not taking into consideration kind of the local nuances associated with that real estate. Sometimes it's, I forget what it is in North Carolina, but we looked at a couple deals 10 years ago down there, and we didn't know about the polybutyl, something in the pipes. And if you don't know that and you're coming in, you don't know to look for that with your inspectors. It's just things like that you need to know within a certain market. And then you also obviously have to know how the taxes are established, the real estate taxes, because we've seen that be a downfall of many people.
Yeah, is it millage, or is it percentage of last trade sale, or what? All the different areas, right? What happens in San Antonio, Texas, may be very different than Chicago, and then specific submarket, right? Absolutely.
We have to figure out who's chasing the sales, like what municipalities are chasing them, and it's pretty interesting to see. In Illinois, for sure, it's very difficult to figure out what your real estate taxes could be moving on. So, some areas it's 1.5% of the purchase price. It's very simple and straightforward, but many of the markets it's kind of difficult to figure that out.
Yeah. So these are good things to have an advisor like yourself to help them through. And then, if I'm buying in multiple different markets, like, is it your advice, hey, talk to a good advisor, they can recommend, in every single market that I'm looking in to help me with things like this knowledge that I may not have in Illinois? Or what's your advice there to an investor?
Absolutely. I mean, if you are not working with a broker or advisor that can help you in those markets within their own company, hopefully they have, brokerage contacts, even with the competing firm. I mean, oftentimes if I'm trying to serve a client that's in a market that I'm not in personally, and I don't feel that somebody even within my company is an expert in that market, I'll make sure I try to stay in contact with experts, even if it's with a competitive firm. And I'd refer it that way just to make sure the client's in good hands. You don't want to go into markets blind.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
How can an investor like me tell who's good and who's not? You know, I'm the new guy. I'm coming in and I'm like, man, there's brokers everywhere and advisors. I don't know who to trust and I don't know who to go to. And, you know, any advice or insights there?
Well, I think that with every broker, you should ask them for client testimonials, actual, not just ones that they have up on their website that they filled in themselves, but actual, a book of client testimonials on the client's letterhead and signed by the client. Those to me are always helpful. We present those to a lot of the owners when we're trying to list their property. Even if they're buyers, if they want to see them, we'll hand it to them saying, look, here are situations with other people. And we've also asked for all of their, authority to have a buyer reach out and call them direct. Do your due diligence there. I mean, that's one thing that should be pretty easy to do because, if one person has a bad experience with somebody, they're typically not quiet about it if you're asked.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that we do. If we have a call for offers, if we have a number of offers on a property and it gets down to 4 or 5 different groups, we ask them for references, and the best references are the previous sellers of the last 3 deals they purchased. And we'll call them, say, hey, how did you like the process with Abel and his crew? When they came in, and if somebody said, if somebody had a problem where, the 11th hour, these guys retraded them and totally had their backs against the wall, they had to close or they were going to default on their loan or something. Yeah. I'm not going to be quiet about how they operated. The other hand is they said, look, they did everything they said they were going to do. They didn't retrade me. They did everything that their LOI said. Then, those are things we like to hear when we're trying to decide which is the best fit for a buyer for some of our selling clients. Yeah. For all of the new general partners right there, there's a nugget. You need to just rewind it where your broker on the accepting offer side, may ask for some due diligence on you as a buyer. If there's 3 or 4 offers, they're all really competitive and one has, a strong track record. Who do you think they're going to want to go to? Right. So just easy way to kick out a number of people if you have a dozen offers to sift through. Very easy. Yep. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then as I'm the buyer looking for the right advisor, just trusted, true, and get some referrals, talk to the people that have worked with them in the past. And, I'm sure great broker advisor can help, provide many of those references on how you made them money and how you turn a $76K a year into $250,000, right? So that's awesome. So anyways, let's, sorry to get off track for a moment, but 2001, you're doing kind of conversions, you're not really doing underwriting, and then things shifted. Tell us about, today and how that comes come around to what you're doing today. Sorry. Sure. So, things shifted then. That's when I knew I needed to get a little more, I graduated college not with a degree in finance, which I wish I did. Yeah. It was totally unrelated. It was biology, corporate fitness, and I started getting into business classes my last year of college. And so I knew I needed to get ramped up. So that's when I found the CCIM courses and took the whole CCIM course 1 through 4 and learned a lot there on how to underwrite. And I got more into the underwriting and then looking. That's another reason I'm in multifamily. It's once you can underwrite an apartment complex and really know the intricacies, you pretty much can do it all over the country. Yeah. And to me, it's just a lot easier than the office and the retail and the industrial, and the leases turn over annually, so you can adjust quicker. So it seems like, and it seemed at the time that that's what I wanted to really focus in on. So that's when we started tracking the apartment complexes, because a majority of them in the suburbs and the secondary markets were never going to be converted. And it was always going to be an income evaluation. So we got more into that. We went from those deals that we sold him into another 144 unit deal that we were actually selling to the seller. He had a 1031 exchange from selling those other two deals.
Mm-hmm.
So we found him a 144 unit deal. And that deal, it was I'll never forget it. It was 18 buildings. It was from the original developer, and he tried to condo convert. So this was at the back end of the condo conversion kind of market. And he tried to convert one of the building 18. And he did it, he tested it. And it was so soft out in that market that he just couldn't sell them. So he said, I'm going to put them back on as rentals. And he was getting $150 more, and he had only put $3,000 a unit into it. Just changing out the fixtures and maybe updating an appliance or two. So right there, that was a perfect example of, if you just put in $3,000 to $5,000 a unit, you can get a $150 pop. Multiply that by 144 times 12, cap it out at a 6 cap, and look at what that value is that you just added to that property. And that was the first one that really opened my eyes to, even a light turn. I mean, I'm not talking about huge value add. We're talking light turn.
Yeah.
Which, became all the rage in 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12. Everybody wants value add. Give me a value add deal. But that was one of the examples that I really saw it happen.
So let me pause you here for a second, right? So for those that didn't hear, CCIM, Certified Commercial Investment Member. So Reid spent a number of, hours, coursework, time, educating himself on the underwriting, which is basically the analysis, the financial analysis of doing the deal. And when you have that, education, that mindset, no one's ever going to take that away from you. In fact, he can now apply that across multiple markets, which is why he said, hey, I'm going to focus on this, right? And then to cap off kind of the last point, right? So let's do the math together, Reid, what you're talking about. So they spent a $3,000 unit increase, which is 144 units, right? Times $3,000. So this math, the investor put in $432,000. Is almost $500,000. It's a lot of money, right? But you take $144, $100 increase, right?
It was between 100 and 150.
Okay, so let's just use 125. 144 times 125. For those listening, that's the dollar increase per unit rent, and that equals to $18,000 a month of new income. Okay, so you take 18 and you multiply it by 12. That's 12 months. There's $216,000 of new net operating income, right? And Reid said, hey, divide that by a 6 cap, which is 6%. That's, the capitalization rate of money. So just divide that number by 6%. And that's a $3.6 million improvement. Who wouldn't, find some way to get $500,000,
right,
kick, fighting, scratching, begging, borrowing, whatever you got to do, right, to make $3.6 million. Yeah. And that's just, in the multifamily minute, kind of mindset. Hey, there's a way to kick it off. And that's why the magic of multifamily, right? So, and sorry to interrupt you, but I just want to highlight those things.
It's funny because one of the first multifamily minutes I did was on cap rates and why I hate them. And the reason that I hate cap rates is they're totally arbitrary depending on what numbers you're looking at. I literally, the guy that I sold that deal to, the 144 unit deal, I was talking to him, and I've sold 2 deals for him and 3 deals to him. So, and he's, at some point he's owned about 3,000 units. And he said, how do you figure out a cap rate again?
I love it.
I was like, are you kidding me? You don't know how to figure this out and you own all.
I love it.
So, I did a multifamily minute about the reason I hate cap rates is if you're dealing with the wrong income or the wrong expenses, that NOI, even if you're off $10, $15, $20,000,
Yeah.
that number, the number for the price is going to be so far off. That's why you can never take. I just had this conversation with a group today. They're telling me what their NOI was on their, they have a substantial portfolio, but they do everything in-house. They run it all themselves. They don't pay themselves a fee. They don't pay themselves a management fee. They protest the taxes themselves. They go do all the evictions themselves. So they were running their portfolio at like $2,700 a unit. And the market that this is in, we've sold 14 complexes. And of those 14, I took an average of all of them. And the lowest price per unit was $3,800. And that was the absolute bare bone lowest. And their numbers were $2,700 a unit. So when you take that discrepancy and they're telling me that their NOI is one thing, and I'm telling them, I will eat the building if your NOI is more than this or less than this. Yeah. And so, you have that argument. That's what we have all day long. What's the true NOI of a property? The cap rate is only one sanity check of a number of sanity checks when you're underwriting a deal. Yeah. You mean to get too far off into the cap rate zone?
No, this is all good because it's good insight, right? So on the point, number of sanity checks in the underwriting, give us more of these nuggets. These are really good, right? Because you just described one operator where they're doing it themselves. So they're not showing any expenses, which makes my deals look better. But hey, they're putting in their time, and if anybody else buys it, it's going to cost them to do this work because they're not going to do it. So give us some more of these nuggets. Yeah.
Well, and that's another thing. Even if you as the buyer are saying, okay, I'll do exactly what this guy's doing. I'll run it myself. I won't pay myself. I'll do all of the work. I won't put that in. Even if you're saying, okay, fine, I believe your expenses, you're going to negotiate the purchase and sale agreement, the contract. You're going to spend money on an attorney. You're going to spend money on, the inspections. You're going to get the appraisal. You're going to do all this. And when you're going to take it to, your lender is going to say, wait a minute, we're plugging in 4,600 a unit expenses in here. We're not doing this deal. So you just wasted all that money and time, both as the seller and the buyer. So the sanity checks that we often use, besides cap rate, expense ratios. I mean, that one's an easy one. You just take what the actual income is, you take your expenses, divide it by the income, and you get an expense ratio. We typically are seeing those come between, I would say, 46% and 55%, depending. That's a market rate deal. Sure. I mean, if you're running your numbers and, the cap rates, it's in line. This looks in line. The taxes look in line, but my expense ratio is 25%. Well, so you're missing something. And then you can go back in and say, we didn't put payroll in, or, we didn't put the right tax bill in, or something like that. So the operating expenses, depending on what market you're in, and depending on what class property, your expense ratios are key. And if you get into the affordable world, those expense ratios go significantly higher just because of all the administrative fees and all of the REAC costs and the audited financials you have to do. So depending on what area of multifamily you're in, what class, type, and location, you have to look at those expense ratios.
Got it. All right. What else? Any other gotchas we should be looking for when we're doing underwriting analysis?
Well, the other thing is, looking at what the rental rates are on a certain property. So, oftentimes we'll say, hey, that guy paid a 4 cap, in your market for that deal. And then when I look at it, I'll say, well, this was owned by the same company or same owner for 44 years. They didn't care. They didn't have to maximize the rents. They wanted 100%, leased building. They were $250 to $300 below market on each of their units. So once these people actually get in and do the repairs and upgrades and raise the rents, it ends up being a 5 or 6 cap deal. So to know the rents and to know what you can get, and also be aware of what the neighboring competitive property is doing as far as, are you paying all of the utilities as the owner? Are you throwing off, are the individual furnaces versus boiler systems? In the Midwest, that's big, obviously, with the heating up here.
Yeah, I imagine a little different than Texas, right? This systems, but keep going. Yep.
Right. And then, the other thing, I'm sure you looked at the RUBS, the resident utility bill backs.
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to compare a neighboring property that does not use those, and you need to use them, you have to factor that into where your rents are, just so you're apples to apples on understanding where your rents are and where they can be.
Right on. So these are good. These are good nuggets, right? And hello. You're listening to the 5 Talents Podcast. I'm your host, Abel Pacheco. If you're enjoying this podcast, then I know you're serious about achieving financial freedom. Are you ready to create your own path through multifamily investing for yourself and your family? Then I know you're going to appreciate our Investor's Guide to Multifamily Investing. It's titled Tackling Commercial Real Estate the Easy Way. We use this guide to invest ourselves in $93 million worth of real estate. So we're going to show you the basic mechanics of multifamily syndications and how to evaluate your next passive investment opportunity. So the best part, if you subscribe to our podcast now, leave us a review and a rating. I'm going to give you a free copy of our ebook. So please take a moment to do that now. Once you've done that, go to 5tcre.com/ebook, 5tcre.com/ebook. Make sure to let us know you left a review, and we're going to send you a free copy. So thank you so much for subscribing to the 5 Talents Podcast. We really appreciate it. For if you're a passive investor listening to this and you're like, man, there's a lot of complexity. You're absolutely 100% right. A lot of complexity, which is why they have specific courses, certified commercial investment members, CCIM. They have advisors at SVN. There's a broker system. That all of this expertise that, as a passive investor, you're trying to find the best experts to invest your money with, because, even like me as an investor, I don't know everything that Reid and his team knows, but I know that if I can leverage Reid and his team for expertise and advice, that I'm going to have that team to advise me through the situation, right? And if you're a new general partner, this is why there's a very big difference between going off market and finding your own property and doing your own work, between having an advisor, somebody to help you, buy and sell, right? And so these are all good nuggets, Reid. So, and you also mentioned like affordable housing, or I know you have some expertise in. I would be amiss if we didn't talk about like Section 8, Section 42 communities.
Sure.
So what's the expertise there, and how does it matter what does it matter to investors like me?
Well, first let's go with low-income housing tax credit, the light tech deals.
Yep.
Or Section 42 is the tax code. Those properties, many people that are watching this that have been looking at multifamily apartment complexes, even if they're in your neighborhood, you could be driving by a low-income housing tax credit development that it has a pool, it has a clubhouse, the units look nice, there's garages, and you would have no idea that it was a low-income housing tax credit development.
Yeah. I hear low-income housing, and I'm immediately my head goes to, oh, this is not the class B or A property. It's not nice. It's that's good for telling us that.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a common misperception. I mean, you have a lot of the NIMBYs that come out in a community when they hear that there's going to be a project here developed with low-income housing tax credits. If it does not have a Section 8 contract, which a new one probably won't, all that means is it's set aside typically for tenants that are 60% or below the median area income. So that in a market, depending on what market you're in, if you're in kind of high dollar markets, you're talking about a lot of the tenants might be firefighters or police officers or, service industry people that are just not making what the top of the, the income, the median income for that area. So it's just set aside.
Nice area of town, great schools, median income's 100K, but blue collar professionals, hardworking individuals that want to live in this area of town, they don't make 60K maybe, and maybe they're working themselves, and wife's at the house taking care of children. So that is the ideal scenario. I was like, man, I don't make 60K, but I want to be in a nice area of town, right?
Exactly. So that's what the whole program was developed for, is just to provide affordable housing.
Yep.
For the general public.
Cool.
And so that's why, but a lot of the properties that have a HAP contract might have been developed or what's called an acquisition rehab, where they've been acquired, and then they use tax credit dollars to upgrade the units.
Yeah.
And they might have a HAP contract, which that's housing assistance payments. That's a project-based Section 8. So that's a different
animal.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
But those right now, those are the gold standard, because with what the government's doing, printing money right now, the trillions.
Yeah, right. We're like, no, we don't want Section 8. And then today, all the Section 8 are like, payments are going to come in.
Right. That's the thing. So if you're an owner and you have a 150 unit project-based Section 8 with a HAP contract, you get 100% of the rents. You don't have to chase down vouchers. You get 100% of the rents in your account each month.
Yeah.
And lenders, especially during this downturn, during this COVID situation, lenders are very interested in lending on those deals because they know that the owners are going to get their check from the government.
Yeah.
So, in fact, we were just talking with the group. We sold a little over 300 units to here in Chicago. Very aggressive group. They were always at the top of every deal that we gave them, but sometimes by millions. They just told us last week that I said, how are things going on your acquisitions in the HAP world? And they said, we are putting offers out at our 2019 underwriting, and then going 15% above that and getting beat out.
Wow. Yeah. That's the currently today.
That's the HAP world right now. Even market rate multifamily right now.
We're recording this. It's September the 15th, 2020. And I'm kind of experiencing the same, which are the offers or deals that you're looking at. Everyone's expecting there to be these distressed properties and fire sales. And I'm like, it feels like cap rates are compressing, and it feels like people are offering higher amounts and yeah. So is that kind of what you're experiencing?
Absolutely.
This one deal, but all the others too?
Yeah. Well, but that was the disconnect we saw probably May and June, because everybody kind of was freezing. They're saying, okay, everything's shut down. So I also host a monthly national multifamily call internally, and we had some lenders on, and one of the guys from Fannie Mae that was on, this was the end of March. It's always the last Thursday of the month. So it was the end of March going into April. And they were saying, we expect 25 to 30% collections in multifamily.
Golly.
And then everybody said, okay, no, it's going to be May. May is going to be the apocalyptic month. And then it was like, maybe June. And then it just, now everybody's saying maybe October. Because, if you watch NMHC, the rent tracker, which I love their information, where they're tracking 11.5 million units around the country.
Wow.
It has not been much different than the 2019 collection. So multifamily is the place to be.
Yeah.
As I always say, the reason I'm not in office is because everybody now can office virtually. Retail, everybody's buying virtually. You just can't live virtually yet. So you need a place to stay. That's why multifamily is going to be here to stay forever.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's great to hear. Great sentiments, especially from an expert like yourself. And I really appreciate your time, man. And let me be respectful of that time. So before we go, is there any place you want to send our listeners, viewers to, if they want to get in your world, if they want some, help finding their property or selling their next one, where should our, listeners reach out to you?
If they want to reach out to me, you can do so. LinkedIn's a great way to reach out. Just find my LinkedIn portfolio. I can give you my email address, your cell phone, whatever works for you on this podcast.
All of it.
You can email me anytime at reid.bennett@svn.com. That's REID, period, BENNETT, at SVN, SamVictorNancy.com. And my cell number is 773-251-7342. If I can't answer your question, I'll pass you on to guys that know more than me, like Abel, that can answer.
Mr. Reid Bennett, man, super awesome. I'll put all of that stuff in the show notes, so that will be there for those that are listening or looking at YouTube or whatever. So all of that information will be there. And is there anything else that that I didn't ask about, anything I didn't touch on that you were excited to share, but I didn't quite get to? Is there anything, last parting words or nuggets? And really take as much time, or if not, just let me know.
No. I mean, you asked some of the good questions, and I probably rambled on about a bunch of different things. But the thing is, and I think you hit it on the head, is especially if you're a passive investor, you definitely want to be going with a group that's syndicating a deal that has a good track record, that knows what they're doing, and is well respected in the industry, both among the other brokers and other buyers in that market. So make sure you're doing that.
Oh, that's great. Great advice. I 100% agree. I was a passive investor before I was an active investor, and I'm invested about 865 doors. And the first 400 were just a passive. Took all my life savings and put it in the multifamily. I'm a believer, but I absolutely need to be with people that I knew, trusted, good track record. And that's probably the best advice, anybody can provide somebody, man. Do some due diligence on the team, and then go with trusted syndicators, right?
Absolutely.
And like Reid gave, same for the broker on that side. So that's awesome, man. Well, I really sincerely appreciate your time. I'm humbled by the time, and good to hear from you, brother. I look forward to seeing more of your multifamily minutes. Look forward to following everything. And again, my name is Abel Pacheco. I'm your host for the 5 Talents podcast. If you want to get a hold of us, you can go to our website, 5tcre.com. And for some of you that are new to passive investing, we've got an ebook that is out. Please go to our website, 5tcre.com/ebook, and just put in here, give us a rating and a review, and we'll give you a free copy. So look forward to talking, and thank you very much. Thanks, Reid. Man, thank you very much for all your time.
Thanks, Abel.
Bye-bye. Bye. All right, my friend. Thank you for your time, man. That was good. That was good.
Cool.
So look forward to getting it out. This probably won't be out till end of October-ish. So I've got probably 20, 25, 26 recordings. It's right away from, I'm a week or so from releasing them all. And I'm going to do them 2 or 3 times a week. Ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom for the next month and a half, 2 months. And then I think that should be a good base. And then I'll probably end up doing 1 or 2 a week. Slow down after that a little bit, but yeah.
How many have you done up to this point?
26 and 27, probably.
Okay.
So I haven't released any of them.
Oh, okay. All right.
I think I started a month and a half ago and started just piling them up. Did my hour work, did all that stuff. I'm using a company called Streamline Podcast. They're helping me edit and publish and put them all out there. So I'm doing that now. And then, I'll start blasting them out. Boom, 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 boom. I'll let you know in advance. We'll link you, put all the stuff in there. I'll give you some artwork so you can share social as well and awesome. Do that stuff.
Awesome, man.
Yeah. Let's stay in contact. I'd love to work with you. Oh, I'm also something that there may be an opportunity for partnership. I have a little extra free time on my side, so I decided to turn it back into to multifamily as well. So I'm a new loan originator for Peak Multifamily. Okay. So they're I don't know if you're familiar with Rod Cleef, his events.
Yeah.
So their kind of trusted advisor is Peak, Anton Matley. So I just joined their team as a new originator. I think they like the fact that I was an owner and kind of decent on the underwriting. So, man, if you know anybody that's on your side, potentially there's the partnership opportunity where I can say, hey, man, if you need somebody, talk to Reid. You know, if you're in the Midwest, Chicago, I don't know it, talk to Reid. And then vice versa. You're like, hey, man, if you want to get some term sheets, some loans, you know, I'll take your underwriting. We'll kind of just match it up against ours. And then, you know, dude, Anton's done billions and billions and billions of dollars and then advises for all kinds of family advisors and all that stuff. So it won't be I'm new, but you won't get me. You'll really get Anton because he's kind of helping everything. So, yeah, if there's that opportunity, just let me know. And then maybe we can send some opportunities each other's way.
For sure.
Right on, brother.
Let me know what your acquisition criteria is and what Texas market size, vintage, all that.
Okay,
then,
cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'll shoot you like I said, the information. One of the things that we use is Yardi Matrix. Have you seen any of that information?
I've heard it multiple times, but I've never seen the data or anything like that.
Why don't I show you? Send me the name and location of one of your deals.
Okay.
I'll pull it up. I'll download it quick. It'll take me 30 seconds.
Okay, cool.
I'll download a quick little thing for you and send it to you, because what it does is it takes your 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms and shows you where you sit with all of your competitive set. And it breaks it out per square foot and then what you're getting on a per square foot basis. So we've identified a bunch of deals for buyers on that realm where you're saying, look, this guy's 42 cents a foot below the rest of his competitors. You go in day one and raise it 42 cents a foot.
Yeah.
They can't go anywhere. So.
Okay, cool. I'm interested. I'm definitely looking for opportunities.
All right, send me one of yours, and then I'll show you what we're doing, and I can tell you how many deals Yardi's tracking in that particular market.
Okay.
And then what we do with that with buyers is, if they say, look, I want anything, let's say 1985 to 2000 vintage, 150 to 250 units in these areas, I can look on that database because they track all the loans too.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I have a little bit of loan information now that I'm on the origination side. However, we may not track them all, right? So yeah, man, I'm excited.
Cool. Awesome, buddy.
I'll let you know. I'll keep you posted, man. Thanks for your time.
Right. Appreciate it.
Okay.
All right.
Talk to you soon. Later, Reid.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the 5 Talents Podcast with your host, myself, Abel Pacheco. Each week, we're going to bring you interviews from industry experts and commercial real estate investors who follow their dreams and achieve massive success. Before you leave, let me ask you a few questions. Did you enjoy this episode? Did you learn something valuable? Was your mind stretched to what's possible and what you can achieve? Do you want other experts just like the one you heard today? If you answered yes to any or all of those questions, then please take a moment to subscribe to the 5 Talents Podcast, give us a 5-star rating, and most importantly, leave us a written review. Tell us what you liked, tell us your favorite guest, give us any feedback. I'm excited to learn and improve so you can get a more valuable show. So thank you again for subscribing to the 5 Talents Podcast.